So we're still on day 3. I put all the covers on, and I just wanted to point out one thing. I made a little bus bar there, you noticed in the last video. I taped it up. Presently I don't have a fuse on my batteries. I have that on order. I got to go into the city and pick that up with some more breakers. So I'll show you how that goes on. It's just a little fuse that clips on. It's quite slick. And because what if a guy dropped a wrench or a screwdriver down there? And you see right there, that's negative. And that's positive, and that's like a number 8 wire all the way down to the batteries there. So if something were to short out there, she'd, with all that power, there's a big arc. So I don't really like to do stuff like that out in the open. I like cabinets. Please excuse the mess. This is just temporary. Like I said before, this is all coming out after we're done this little off-grid cabin camper type test. We're going to be putting in some new units, and we'll have new video segments on it, so this will all come out. But for any of you that do a little of electrical, or if you have an electrician that you work with, all this wiring is pretty standard in this industry. And again, it's just battery chargers. You have power coming into the MPPT, and you got the battery hooking up to it. And we have fuses and breakers in between it, just for protection. Okay, so that's it for now, and I'll sign off, and we'll talk to you later. So in here, I'm just looking at the power. Looks like we're up to 13 volts now. So we're still charging 12 amps from the roof, 10 amps from the wall. So we still have 20 some amps coming in charging. So once our batteries get charged up, what do we do with the extra power? Well, all the control equipment is designed to dissipate or shut down. So there's nothing really to worry about. Even with the little wind system here, it's all built in. So, but there is still the question, what do we do with all the extra power? Well, if we don't use it, we lose it. And that's the way it works with off-grid. So, because there's nothing else we can do. So a lot of times, if we want to use this power up, then we put in a bigger battery bank, and we put in extra batteries. Now outside my door, I have some nickel cadmium we're going to play with, and it's a string of batteries. We're going to see if all of that extra power would help us. And then the next step we're going to is lithium. We have some lithium ordered in. We have some new inverters with MPPTs built into the inverters, so that everything's all in one package. So it's going to simplify install, bring the price down, hopefully, we'll see, and offer you folks some new ideas to look at. So again, I live a little bit of a lifestyle where I live in my backyard. It's fortunate. We're in tough times now. Not everyone has that, but a lot of people are building little backyard studios. This here little studio, we went out to the market looking for lumber. We found some reusable lumber, and so that's what we did, and we all went in quite cheap. So for a couple $1,000, you can do a lot. We actually a couple $1,000 is hard to come by, so we made a deal, and we helped the guy clean his lumber yard up. So he said, "Look, I'll give you give me a credit on a windmill or some solar panels, and here's the lumber." So you can go out and explore this. It's green energy. We're trying to do stuff, learn, teach others. So I want to help you so you don't have to go through all the hardships that I went through when you choose an inverter, and when you're building a system. How do we build it, and how do we figure out the energy usage? So in this little cabin, we are providing our own heat. And when you think of that 750 watt heater, and you think this big LED light's 22 watts, my outdoor light's 22 watts, well, you could run almost 5 of them per 100, 5 times 7, so like 35 of those You could run 35 of these lights every time that electric heater kicks on at 750 watts. So that just gives you an idea of what kind of power we actually are providing here in this off-grid situation. This 750 watts, that would be like running a blow dryer. Now this thing stays on for a few minutes when it heats, so it really puts a draw on the system. Electric heat is not the cheapest heat. The cheapest thing to do would be to put a little propane or natural gas heater in here that hardly comes on, it's hardly used. But then that poses other issues. We have venting, we have a flame running, we have fire hazards, we have, going back to using carbon-based fuels. So this is a big experiment. Can we do this all off green energy? Electricity is the green energy that we're building. It's electricity, everything's going electricity. That's why we have an e-bike sitting right here, and we'll talk about that. But what are we going to do with the extra energy? It's still a lot of sunshine out there. I still have 25 amps coming in. I'm just, this stuff's all going to go to a float charge pretty soon. So I'm going to just play around in here. I use all electric stuff here, so I'm just going to sharpen up my power saw, spend time in the little cabin. It's warm and it's cozy in here, even though it's January 14th, Northern Alberta. So we're going to get this going. And what do we use? Well, we don't use gasoline to run this power saw. We run this off a lithium battery. So we just throw it in one of our chargers up here, and we give that lithium a good charge. It's already charged up, but everything we're doing is run off green energy. This whole cabin is run off green energy. This inverter, this 2,000 watt inverter, seems to be working fine for what we would use in here. If you had a big camper, and we'll go over and take a look at a big camper, then I recommend a 3,000 watt inverter. And it's always good to match the inverter with the power of the camper or the facility. Here we're just experimenting, so 2,000 watts is enough power to run a 750 watt heater. That's our most usage of power. And considering these LED lights draw very little, my light over here, this light draws 7 watts. This big fluorescent light, and I'll just point the camera up so you can kind of see it. It's not fluorescent, it's an LED light. And this is one of those LED lights that we actually sell it. And you can change your light so that it's a different shade of light. And you can change up here the intensity of the light, and the coloring of the light. So now we have more of a yellow light. I don't know how that looks, but sometimes you don't like light that's too bright. So the yellow light works a little better. I'm going to switch it back to the more whiter light. You see the difference. But anyways, these units, they sell for about $100. Everything we have here, it's in around $100. These outdoor lights are around $100. All good value. LED lights. I could run, what did we say, 35 of these for the amount that we're running that electric heater. So we're actually doing some really good work here for off-grid. And 12 volt is the least efficient. So if you're really going to live off-grid, run a house and run a furnace, or live off-grid, and you have a large cabin or even a small cabin, I'd recommend that you go with a bigger inverter, you go with a bigger battery bank. I recommend lithium. And we're going to pull some new stuff in for that and show you what's available for living off-grid. But what we're doing here in this little demonstration is going to help you to set up a cabin or to set up something small. Now the wind system, just to talk about the wind, because it generates the least amount of energy. But like I say, if you're not using the energy, and if you don't have a little workshop and you're not coming in and out of it every day, turning lights on charging all your cordless stuff is all charging here, and I'm heating the whole thing off green energy. If you're not doing that, then you have a lot of this storage, a lot of this solar doing nothing. So that's why it's very important to size your solar system, and then we help you do that. So, but if you're building a camper, the camper is the easiest. I would throw one of those bifacials on the roof, probably a battery bank about like this. You could even go with just 2 of them, 200 amp hours for a camper. Now, if you have an all-season camper and you're going to live in the camper, then you need lots of batteries, probably double the amount of batteries, probably more like, this is 300 amp hours at 12, probably you need more like 600 amp hours at 12 volts at least. And then you have lots of batteries to store the energy in. In fact, I would recommend going lithium because it's just going to work that much better for you, and especially with winter time. So yeah, that's about it. I was going to take you for a little walk, so I'll show you where our camper is and where we hide that.